Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's free live training. I'm always so happy to see all of you, whether you're attending live or catching the replay. Just putting some links in the chat right now. Now, today we're talking about how our pain stories can hold us back and how to rewrite them for actual relief. And I know this sounds like something that doesn't result in feeling better, but believe me, it does, and it has for many of my clients. And so I want to talk about that with all of you today. And so, I want to start by asking you to consider, what if your pain story has been told? The way that it's been told to you is what if that is actually keeping you trapped in cycles of fear, frustration, and exhaustion? And this is often something that people have not really considered. Let me walk you through how that happens. So, for years, you may have been handed a narrative about your pain by your doctors, by well meaning friends, your own experiences. Maybe you were even told that your pain is just something that you have to live with. Maybe you've been searching for answers that never seem to come. Maybe you even started questioning yourself, like, is this all in my head? But the truth is, your pain is real, and the way it's been framed for you matters more than you realize. And so today we are actually going to unpack that story that you've been told about your pain. But more importantly, we will talk about how you can start rewriting it. So we'll walk through why pain is more than just a number on a scale. We'll talk about why language shapes your experience more than you think. And we'll talk about how to take back control of your narrative so that pain no longer limits your life, drains your energy, or dictates what you can and cannot do. So, this is really your chance to shift from feeling unheard, dismissed, to feeling more understood and in control. And I hope that we can achieve this today. And if you're ready to finally make sense of your pain in a way that actually moves you forward, you're in the right place. For those of you who are new here, my name is Dr. Anna Redmond. I'm a pain psychologist with 15 years of experience, a pain recovery strategist for women, the creator of the anti-threat system for high achievers, and the founder of the Breaking Through Pain program. My work is dedicated to helping women who refuse to let chronic pain define them. Women who are tired of feeling like they are at war with their own bodies and who are ready for a smarter, science-backed way forward. And for years, I've watched brilliant, driven women struggle, not because they're not strong or capable, but because they were handed the wrong map, basically. They were told their pain was either all in their head or something that they would have to live with forever. And that narrative is not just frustrating and common, but it actually can make pain worse. And that is why I created the anti-threat system, because when we shift the way we understand and respond to pain, everything changes. So today I'm going to show you how to start rewriting your pain story so you can move forward from fear and frustration toward in the direction of confidence and control. So grab a pen and paper, silence your notifications, and let's dive in. And I want you to know this, you are not stuck with the pain story you've been handed. The way you've been taught to understand and manage your pain is likely keeping you trapped in cycles, and even maybe second guessing your body. Maybe you've tried to push through, hoping that ignoring it might make it go away, or maybe you've done the opposite. You avoid movement completely because you're afraid of making things worse. If you already know that that approach isn't working, then it's time for a different strategy. So if you are someone who already knows that they are ready to start rewriting their pain story, I want to talk with you. This could be a conversation where everything starts to change. So if you want to do that, you can comment book below or use the link that I put in the comments to schedule what I call a pain recovery diagnostic call, where we can explore how you can move forward with a plan that makes sense for you. But let's dive into the topic today. And we'll kind of hone in on that problem where your pain story, the problem is how your pain story has been written for you. And so we'll talk about some of the things that you've probably been told about your pain, why they haven't helped you over the short or long term get better. My first question to you is, have you ever been given advice about your pain that just didn't work? I know this happens to so many of us. Maybe you followed all the steps, you did what you were told, you felt stuck. And if that's you, I want you to know that you're not the problem. And the truth is that most pain advice is outdated. It's oversimplified, or honestly, it's just flat out wrong. And worse, it can actually keep you trapped in a pain cycle without realizing it. So we're going to break down 3 of the biggest myths that shape so many people's pain stories, so many that I've heard. So the first myth is regarding medical and diagnosis, fear-inducing statements. These are really common. You have degenerative disc disease. This is the worst case I've ever seen. You'll end up in a wheelchair if you're not careful. And from the moment you were given a diagnosis, if you got one, the words used to describe your condition may have shaped how you saw yourself. Maybe you left these appointments feeling more broken, more fragile, more afraid, like your body was a ticking time bomb destined to get worse. I know absolutely that this happened for me, and it's happened for so many of my clients that I talk to. And these statements don't really inform you. They go beyond that. They become part of your narrative, part of your pain story. They reinforce fear, avoidance, and this belief that you are at the mercy of this condition. The second myth, these are treatment related statements. Things that I've heard commonly are, if this injection or surgery doesn't work, there's really nothing else we can do. Just take these painkillers. It's your best option. Or you should stop exercising so you don't make it worse. And these messages are really common, but they also do one thing. They make you feel powerless. If a treatment doesn't work, you might start believing you've hit a dead end, that your pain is permanent and there's nothing left to try. Or maybe you've been conditioned to fear movement, believing that the wrong step could make everything worse. But pain does not work that way, and we'll get into that in just a second. The third and final myth is dismissive and invalidating statements. Things like, it's probably just stress, try to relax, or you don't look like you're in pain, or other people with this condition aren't in as much pain as you. And these statements can truly leave emotional scars just as much as physical pain does. And maybe you've started doubting yourself, wondering if you're overreacting, if it's really that bad, or maybe you've stopped talking about your pain altogether because you are tired of being dismissed. But this part of your pain story can create deep isolation, making you feel unseen and unheard. But the thing is, your pain is real, and you don't need anyone else to validate it to make that true. Now, these three myths, why are these statements, these beliefs, why are they keeping us stuck? So now that we've broken down what you've been told, let's talk about what's actually true and how shifting this perspective can change your recovery. So number one, your diagnosis, MRI, X-ray does not predict your pain. The truth is, a scan doesn't determine your future. Pain is not a direct measure of tissue damage. It's influenced by so many other factors like your nervous system sensitivity, movement habits, emotions, and past experiences. And did you know that studies show that many people with damaged MRIs, bulging discs, arthritis, etc., have no pain at all, while others with clean MRIs experience significant pain? And here's the shift. Instead of seeing a diagnosis as a life sentence, let's consider seeing it as just one small piece of the puzzle, that your body is adaptable and you have more control over your pain than you've been led to believe. Let's tackle that second myth about treatments. This idea that treatments fail, and honestly, treatments fail because they might be focused on the wrong thing. The truth is that pain isn't just physical, it's biopsychosocial. What does that mean? That means it's shaped by your biology. Yes, your physical body matters, but also your thoughts and emotions. Fear, stress, past experiences play a massive role. And your environment and social context. So this is your support system, your medical experiences, even the words used to describe pain. And most treatments only focus on the physical part. They try to fix something that isn't just about mechanics. That's why many people, cycle through injections, medications, and surgeries without long-term relief. And the shift here is just knowing that pain isn't something that you need to fix. It's something that you can reteach and retrain. And now we'll tackle that third myth. And I'm going to do that by describing your pain as an alarm system. These are the dismissive and invalidating statements. Pain is not just a damage signal, it's also an alarm system. And the truth is that pain isn't always a sign of harm. It's an alarm system. And sometimes that alarm system can get stuck on the on position. It can constantly send dangerous signals even when there's no actual threat. And there are things that can make your alarm system more sensitive. Fear-based medical explanations, a history of failed treatments, stress, anxiety, past trauma, dismissive experiences with doctors, and avoiding movement out of fear. And the shift here is that when we start calming the alarm system, pain starts to shift. And no, this isn't about mindset, thinking positively, or just relaxing. It's actually about teaching your nervous system that is safe, that it is safe. And I'm going to share another truth here with you all. And this is about kind of that emotional weight of being dismissed and unheard. And the truth is, when we're told it's just stress or you don't look like you're in pain, it doesn't just invalidate your experience, it creates an entirely different kind of suffering. When you're dismissed, it doesn't just hurt in the moment. I know that, you know that. It totally rewires how you see yourself. Maybe you even started doubting your own reality. Am I overreacting? Am I making this up? Is it really that bad? I remember feeling like such a burden to my doctors. Or maybe you decided to just stop talking about your pain altogether. I remember I completely stopped physical therapy a couple of times because I was tired of the blank stares, the frustration, the way it seemed like they lost their patience when my pain didn't fit into a neat, predictable box. And here's what happens when pain is dismissed. You internalize the doubt, right? You start to question if you're exaggerating, if you should just toughen up, you withdraw, you stop sharing your pain because you've been met with skepticism too many times, and you feel really stuck, right? If no one is validating what's happening, how can you possibly move forward? And worst of all, dismissive experiences can increase the brain's perception of threat, and in turn, they can increase pain. And the shift here is that pain isn't something you need to prove to anyone to make it real. Your pain is valid, your experience is real, and the first step to changing your pain story is reclaiming it, not waiting for somebody else to validate it. So if you're feeling like you have to defend your pain, what if you started standing in the truth that your body, your experience, and your story deserve to be told and heard? So there's a missing piece here and what you actually need. And now that we've unpacked the false beliefs and why they keep you stuck, let's talk about what's actually missing, the piece of the puzzle that makes all the difference. Because here's the thing. If pain was only about damage, then healing would be simple. You'd find the problem, you'd fix it, and you'd move on. But that has not been your experience, has it? If you've tried everything, medications, injections, surgeries, rest, pushing through, and you still feel like pain has a grip on your life, then the problem isn't you. The problem is the approach that you've been given. But what you actually need is a way to shift your pain story so your brain and your body can stop seeing pain as this constant threat. So the missing piece that I'm talking about here is rewriting your pain story, shifting that narrative in order to reduce the threat that's going to your nervous system. Like I said, pain is not just about the body. It's about how your nervous system processes and responds to signals. The more your brain perceives as a threat, the more sensitive the alarm system becomes, and the more it reinforces those pain signals. And here's what no one tells you in your traditional appointments. Your brain can be retrained to respond differently to pain. You don't need to eliminate every symptom to regain control of your life. You can shift your body's pain response by changing the way your nervous system processes safety and danger. So instead of focusing on what hurts, we want to focus on moments of relief, however small, activities you can engage in without fear, and the signals of safety that help calm your nervous system. This is the missing piece. So let's talk about these pieces. So the first mechanism, let's call it the release the pressure pathway. We're talking about calming the nervous system and rewiring pain perception. Here's how this rewrites your pain story. Right now, your pain story might sound like this. My body is unpredictable. I never know when pain will flare up. I have to be careful or I will make it worse. And this narrative keeps your nervous system in threat mode, constantly scanning for danger and reinforcing pain signals. But what if we rewrote that story? With my release the pressure pathway, you can begin to experience your body as capable, adaptable, and resilient. The old story, pain means I'm causing damage. Here's the new story. Pain is my nervous system trying to protect me, and I can teach it to feel safe again. See how that feels? The old story, I have to fight my pain. Here's the new story. I can work with my nervous system, not against it. And when we use specific strategies that I teach in my program to regulate your nervous system, you can rewrite your pain experience from one of fear to one of confidence and control. Let's talk about the second mechanism here that I use in my program. It's called value-centric movement. This is where we reclaim our strength without fear. And here's how this rewrites your pain story. For many people, movement has become a source of fear and frustration, a constant reminder of what they used to be able to do before pain took over. And maybe you're telling yourself, I can't trust my body. If I move too much, I'll make things worse. Exercise is dangerous. But this narrative reinforces avoidance, hypervigilance, deconditioning, all of which actually can make pain worse over time. With my approach of value-centric movement, we actually rewrite that story directly. We target it directly, where the old story looks like this. I have to avoid movement to protect myself. And we rewrite that to say movement is a tool for freedom, and I can build trust with my body. The old story, pain means I have to stop. Here's the new story, the new narrative. Pain is a signal, not a stop sign. I can move in ways that feel good and align with what matters to me. Instead of exercising being something you should do, we tie movement to your values, your passions, and the life that you want to reclaim. And this is what I help clients do in my program who want to get back to the things they enjoy. It's not just about movement, it's actually about reconnecting with who you are beyond pain. Okay, the last mechanism here is just a huge narrative shift where we are rewriting your pain story for long-term relief. And here's how this works. The words you use, language is important here. And so the words that you use, both the ones you hear from your doctors and the ones that you tell yourself, shape how your brain perceives pain. So if you've been told you have to learn to live with this, you'll never get better, your body is broken, then it's no surprise that your pain story might sound like, I have no control over this, my pain is my identity, I'll never feel like myself again. But the truth is that the story you've been given is not the only story available to you. I just talked to a client about this today. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that there's a path in front of you. Maybe it's on a serene beach, maybe it's in the woods, whatever you identify with. And that this path leads you to new opportunities, new versions of your story. Maybe we don't know what that looks like yet, but that there is a path that can lead us to different options. The old story might look like pain defines my life. With new strategies, new perspective, the new story can say, I'm more than my pain and my body is capable of change. The old story, I have to prove that my pain is real. Let's consider a new narrative here. I don't need to prove my pain to anyone. What I feel is valid and I get to choose how I move forward. And with my clients, through narrative work, reflection, language shifts, we help you reframe the way you talk about your pain. Because when your story changes, your brain's pain response changes too. There's a direct link here between your experiences, your story, and the narrative that exists within you, your nervous system, the amount of threat that your nervous system gets from that story, and then how your brain responds to pain signals. And how this all comes together is in my anti-threat system. So each of these mechanisms we walked through, nervous system retraining, value-driven movement, narrative shifts, they really do play a key role in rewriting your pain story so your brain can stop reinforcing the cycle of chronic pain. This means that your pain story no longer revolves around fear, it revolves around confidence. We're stating things differently. Your movement story no longer revolves around restriction, it revolves around possibility. Your recovery story no longer revolves around struggle. It revolves around hope and progress. And this is so important. And these are the missing pieces that the medical system often will not give you. And I know this from experience because I was there. So I want to talk about one of my clients. She was, basically a high achieving attorney. She came to me after years of struggling with chronic back pain, and she had literally tried everything, much like many of my clients, physical therapy, injections, alternative therapies. Nothing seemed to fix her pain. And as a perfectionist, she really wanted to do everything right, including fixing her pain, but she was stuck in the boom bust cycle. She would push through one day only to crash the next. And what made the difference for her was her commitment to learning and applying new strategies. So instead of fearing movement, she really embraced my value-centric movement approach, where she was choosing movement that aligned with her life and goals rather than ones dictated by outdated pain goals. And within weeks, she reframed her relationship with movement. She was no longer avoiding activities she loved out of fear, but she started slowly, gently, with a plan that we created together, moving with confidence, trust, and understanding of her body's signals. And doing it this way allowed her to actually build upon that more successfully because she wasn't crashing. She wasn't pushing through and crashing, right? It was a safer place to build. She didn't just reduce her pain, she regained control over her life, and she no longer felt at the mercy of her flare-ups. And she had some traits that led her to success. So she was willing to learn and challenge her old beliefs. She was open to that. She had a willingness to try shifting from perfectionism to flexibility. So she let go of doing it right and focused on what worked for her body. And she was action oriented. She didn't just consume the knowledge, she applied it. Let me tell you about one other story before we go today. I had another client. She was a physician. She was a mother of two. She'd been struggling with widespread pain for years. And despite her medical background, because by the way, chronic pain happens to your providers too, But despite this medical background, she felt unheard when she sought care for her own pain. She was told repeatedly that her pain was probably just stress, your high stress job. And this left her feeling frustrated, invalidated, and stuck in self doubt. But when we started working together, her biggest shift actually came from what we call the narrative shift mechanism. And she began to recognize how years of this dismissive language from providers, even her own self talk, had reinforced this pain cycle where her body stayed in high alert mode. And once she started rewriting her pain story, validating her own experience, working through it with me, we did this together. And we worked on focusing on safety instead of fear and shifting that ratio. Everything changed and her pain levels decreased. She started sleeping better. Her tension fell away. Her confidence in her body grew. And she was finally able to be present with her kids without worrying about all of her aches and different sensations. And what led her to her success, I believe, is a progressive perspective on pain. She was open to a new mind-body approach that she hadn't tried before. She had a desire to be empowered through knowledge. She wanted to understand rather than just manage, right? And she was resilient and committed. Even after years of feeling dismissed, she was totally determined to find a better way. And she knew that there wasn't just one ending to her story. And the best part about all of this is that this process that I'm talking about doesn't require medication, surgery. It's simple, it's effective, it can start making a difference within days and weeks. And by recognizing the true source of your pain and shifting how your brain perceives it, you can begin to calm your nervous system and reduce pain without complicated treatments or waiting months to see results. So today's teaching is just one element of my comprehensive anti-threat system. It's designed to empower you at every level. And this method helps you shift from living in survival mode to living in a place of safety and healing. And we do this by mastering mind-body literacy, aligning your actions with your values, and establishing a sustainable healing rhythm. And inside my program, we dive deep into this approach. We help you break that cycle of pain and regain control over your life. This creates lasting relief and a true sense of balance over time. And your pain story can change too. So if you're sitting listening to the replay or you're here live and you're kind of like nodding along, or maybe you see yourself in these stories and you can sort of feel that pull, that sense that maybe this is the missing piece you've been looking for, I would love for you to consider taking the next step. So what I offer is a free 30-minute pain recovery diagnostic call. And it's not just another consultation. It's really a chance for us to sit down virtually together and get to the root of what's keeping you stuck in that pain cycle. It's different for everyone, and it really helps to talk it out. And more importantly, talking through what needs to change so you can finally move forward. So here's how it works. We map out where you are right now, what's working, what's not, what the biggest roadblocks are. I help you see exactly why your current approach isn't getting you results, and it's probably not because you're not trying hard enough. Spoiler alert. And then we'll outline what's possible for you and what a real recovery plan can look like. And look, the worst case scenario is a free call. And the worst case scenario is that you leave with a fresh perspective, maybe a few actionable shifts that can make a difference right away. But the best case scenario might be that we decide it's a great fit to work together and you walk away knowing you have a clear path forward, expert guidance, the support you need to truly change your pain story. But either way, it's one of the best parts of my week, talking to women who have pain, regardless of where the phone call goes. And it could be the best 30 minutes you've ever spent on your recovery. If you're curious about what my other clients have said, you can go to the guide section in the group. You can also drop a book in the comments. You could click on the calendar link there to schedule right away, or even send me a DM. If you're just not sure and you want to just talk a bit more in DMs before you book a call, feel free to do that. Let's get you unstuck and on that path to reclaiming your life. And just remember, you're not broken. Your story is still being written and you have the power to change the ending. And I've seen it happen before. It has happened for me. And I like to think that I have done all of the things and the research to make it smarter, quicker, more accelerated, more effective for all of you. All right. I don't see any questions for the day, so I'm going to wrap up here. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. These are always held on Thursdays at, well, right now, this may change by a half hour soon, but every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, I'll talk to you all soon.